Hello, hello, my friends. It is Hondo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. A little bit of housekeeping up top. This coming Tuesday, we're going to be dropping another episode of KNR. I was joined by the lovely Molly Damon of Star Wars Explained to talk about Dark Disciple and the role it will play going into Bad Batch Season 3, obviously with the return of Asajj Ventress in Bad Batch. So very excited for you guys to see that conversation. Wonderful time talking with Molly, as always. Love our friends over at Star Wars Explained. Very excited for that. Also, the day you're seeing this, stay tuned to the All Remaining Systems YouTube channel. The latest episode of our RPG, Star Wars RPG show, Ionized Bastards, is out today. So go ahead and check that out as well. Want to get some of that housekeeping stuff out of the way. Also up top, I am blitzing this because we have a very, very special guest that I am so excited I can't put words to it to talk to about a very interesting topic. But real quick, you guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy with their 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice ain't for you. And you can go ahead and get your freak on and garnish that bad boy with their award-winning pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus. I'm cutting this ad short because I want to get right into the conversation here today. Use the link in the description down below and use code TNAP, TNAP at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Mean Bloody Mary to wash down. Hell of an episode today. But as I said, we were joined by a very, very special guest. I can't hype it up too much. As a not so wise man once said, human beings are designed to hype. I am joined formerly of the Pop Law segment on the Opening Arguments podcast and current lawyer. I'm very bad at the lingo with Farrar Ball. One, Morgan Stringer, also author of the Hot Dockets Substack.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, when this story broke, I was on my way to Red Lobster with my girlfriend. Because I heard that salt and vinegar shrimp was a thing, so I decided to chance fate. I lost. It was not a good outcome for me. I was very sick. But on our way there, I was like, hey, Gina Carano has filed this batshit insane lawsuit against Disney. And I was like, wouldn't it be funnier than a motherfucker if I somehow got Morgan Stringer on the show to talk about it? Now, for those of you unaware of Morgan's acumen, you have, in a journalistic capacity, kept tabs on the Alex Jones Sandy Hook defamation trial case, all of the surrounding issues there. And anybody who's familiar with me and watches the show knows I am a huge fan of Knowledge Fight, a show that you were a guest on. And again, because of your involvement in keeping tabs on the world's most notorious conspiracy theorist, getting his shit kicked in by people holding him accountable and responsible for shitty behavior. And just as a fun little, did you know, so people have understanding, you work with the gentleman who had the viral cell phone moment in the Texas case.
Yes, now I do. Yeah, so I was, just kind of fucking about on Twitter and thinking, oh, I wonder if anybody would be interested if I just kind of live tweeted, because I knew a lot of people were watching it, but you kind of get lost in a lot of the court things, like, why are they doing this? What's going on here? Why is, this lawyer, bringing up this point? what the hell are jury instructions, that kind of thing. So I thought, well, if somebody, maybe 5 people will find it useful. And it ended up being a lot more people than that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I guess this is my new hyper focus. And at the time I was just, I had wanted to be a litigator, but I ended up going into business law. But then, there was some life events, and I ended up getting contacted by Mark, and he said, you want to come? He asked me, he said, do you want to come work for me? So I haven't been reporting as much, because I'm obviously I'm involved now, but it's been great. I still keep tabs on the weirdos though, and now I am fully involved in the litigation into the upside down world. So
yeah, I was gonna say, like speaking of, Farrar Ball, I'm saying that right?
Yes.
Every time I've gone to say it does not feel right coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, I feel like I'm mispronouncing something. But yeah, Farrar Ball, Mark is also representing somebody in a defamation case against owner of Twitter. You will not catch me dead calling it X, Elon Musk. Currently, is that correct?
Yes,
that's a thing going on there. Mm-hmm. So lots of wires crossing here that brings everybody together. But you've done an incredible job keeping tabs on the Jones trials. I very much, I'm like most people, I have like a passing passing, and fascination with law and legal stuff like that. But no, you as somebody who followed that trial very closely, again, I'm a huge fan of Knowledge Fight. You were invaluable in that, and very good at making a lot of legal jargon and nonsense make sense to the layman. And that was a familiarity with right-wing weirdos, good at making this shit make sense for normal people. I was like, who better than to throw a massive Hail Mary to than to try to have you on the show. And I am very excited to have you on and talk about this. So oh no, did I click out? I clicked you out by accident. I apologize. My hand dragged.
I've already been kicked off.
No, my hand dragged across the touchpad. I thought my cursor was on my own screen and not the monitor thereabouts. So yeah, at this point, uncharacteristically, I'm gonna kind of hand the show off to you to take the lead, because again, you're here for the legal acumen, and I got lucky with a guest booking, so I will chime in where I'm actually useful and hand you the reins, Morgan.
So first, I think we have to talk about how the lawsuit is written. Right.
This is bizarre. Again, I'm a normal person, and I'm like, this feels weird.
Yeah. So starting it off with a short time ago in a galaxy not so far away. Defendants made it clear that the only one orthodoxy in thought, speech, or action was acceptable in their empire, and that those who dared to question or failed to fully comply would not be tolerated. And so it was with Carano. And I get it. Like, I am known as a firebrand, right?
Yes.
I can get a little, I like to tumble. I like to be snarky. I like to be funny, but this was wild.
Framing your introduction like the opening crawl to the Daily Wire version of a Star Wars movie was certainly a choice.
Yeah, especially given the fact that she's like suing over it. Like you didn't need to be cute. I don't know. It's
I remember being caught off guard by that. When I read it, I was like, and I would even go so far as to say, I feel like you can get away with a short time ago in a galaxy not so far away if you don't immediately try to invoke the Empire. And you can get away with the Empire joke if you did not open with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I feel like you can maybe get away with one of those. Again, speaking as a layman, I feel like both, you're not off to a great start.
Yeah, like I like to keep it to like a one-liner, I love a good one-liner. I love a theme, but it just feels heavy-handed.
Yeah, especially when you get further in and they like make direct reference, like where they start dropping trivia about Cara Dune, where it turns into, and her home world of Alderaan was destroyed by the first Death Star. And I'm like, okay, we get.
It's like we get it. You've seen Star Wars, man. Like we believe you. You don't have to like flex your nerd cred right now. You know.
Yeah.
Truly.
It feels like the lawyer was challenged as to whether or not they should be wearing a Star Wars t-shirt and is overcompensating for it.
Oh my God. He's going to show up to a hearing dressed like a stormtrooper.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God. But yeah, so I also love how she calls the CEO of Disney, the regime, a former Disney CEO, Bob Chapek. It's so she calls it this regime, and she says essentially, my free speech was taken away. But she's not suing necessarily under the First Amendment, but it's so she's suing for under several causes of action here. So she's saying basically she was wrongfully terminated. Yeah. And one of the claims that she makes is that this is under California Labor Code section 1101, right? Which basically says, hang on, let me pull it up here. Yep. So basically, employers are not allowed to make, adopt, or enforce any rule, regulation, or policy that forbids or prevents employees from engaging or participating in politics or from becoming candidates for public office. They also cannot controlling or directing or tending to control or direct the political activities or affiliations of employees. So the controlling or directing, that's a section B, the forbidding and preventing you from engaging in politics or public offices, section A. And then of course that first sentence really important. So basically for that, you would have to show that Disney had made, adopted, or was enforcing some kind of rule that was not allowing her to engage in politics, right? And we all know what, the lead up to her firing, right? She was just kind of going crazy on social media, saying horrible things about trans people, being real weird about the mask mandates. And
it's the weird stuff about, and it was funny because I was doing a little bit of like, because it's been so long ago. I was trying to like refamiliarize myself with how all this shook out. And I was like, I remember that people were like, I remember there was a debate about pronouns and bios. And then she did the weird beep, bop, boop thing.
Yes.
And I was like, how do we get, sorry, I need to slap my microphone. I was like, how do we get to beep, bop, boop? I could not remember how we got there. And I'm flipping through and I found a Business Insider article that I was like, holy shit. Like the sequence of events shocked me that it was around the time back in 2020 when like people were having the first round of conversations about pronouns and bios and why are they there? What do they mean? Why can't it be important? And all of those conversations that at that same time, she did that weird post about, look at this Jewish lady married to a Nazi and how she refuses to Sig Heil and refuses to go with the group think. And I was like, wow, like I did not realize that like that she opened up that hard, that like it's been so long that I was like a little gobsmacked by that. But yeah, and it was all of that stuff that crescendoed with the comparison to mask mandates to Jewish people in the Holocaust. That was her big crescendo at the end of all of the weird beep bop boop and then the stop the steal bullshit. Like she just had her finger in all of the right wing culture war pots.
It was which isn't, I don't think, all that surprising, especially when I've talked to people about this who are more familiar, because she comes from the wrestling and mixed martial arts background.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a bit of overlap there with the Joe Rogan of it all, as I say.
Yeah, the Sean Strickland, Rogan, Dana White of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then her other and I want to get into basically her claims, her legal claims here before we get into like the facts that she alleges. So she says also that that's her first claim, that they wouldn't let her participate in political activity, right? So they also say that they terminated her based on her posts, basically, which was which was not allowing her to participate into politics. And yeah, that she just goes on, and then she says defendants it's because she departed from liberal perspectives. She says specifically in the lawsuit, quote, on the Black Lives Matter movement, the coronavirus, transgender issues, and political polarization.
This bitch.
The wrong fucking. My mouse pad is sticking.
I thought you were saying this bitch to.
I have to make up my mind as to whether or not I'm gonna cut that out. I was trying. Honest to God, I pulled the window.
Oh my God, that scared the fuck. I was like,
I was trying. I might cut this out and put this at the end. I was trying to move StreamYard off of my monitor to over here so I could take a picture of my screen and put it in the fucking go home and tell your mother you're brilliant. Oh my God.
I'm screaming. I'm screaming. But it was such good timing. Oh my God.
Normally
it was perfect timing.
Normally that is the function that clip is used for. Shit. Okay, that's getting cut out and put at the end as a little fun post credit.
We love bloopers.
Sorry. We love bloopers. I am so sorry for throwing you off.
Oh no, it's fine. Oh my God.
That was so embarrassing. That was fantastic.
Oh my God. So yeah, this bitch is was saying that she was fired and they refused to also hire her for other promised roles as an implicit warning to defendants, other employees, that the expression of views that depart from liberal perspectives on the Black Lives Matter movement, the coronavirus, transgender issues, and political polarization would not be tolerated. And she's also claiming she suffered emotional distress. She also claims that she lost her role on The Mandalorian, but also she was promised a role in Disney's Rangers of the New Republic and movies, because I'd heard that as a rumor, right? That she was going to get her own spinoff.
Yeah, because it was like around the time that like all of that like the pressure was mounting of like, Mando season 2 Mando season 2, it was actually a couple weeks from ending, because I remember they announced all those movies and shows, but they didn't announce Book of Boba Fett because they wanted to have it be announced at the end of The Mandalorian with that post-credit scene with Boba. So I remember they were like, like a Lando show and a this and a that, Ahsoka and Rangers of the New Republic. And they were like, and it's going to be a show about like all of the, soldiers in the New Republic. And we are not going to name a single character who that absolutely applies to, that this show would logically be about, because weird shit's happening with Gina. And then they announce Rangers, and then a few months later she gets fired. So it's like, okay, or not even fired. That is like, I think that's something important, and not to maybe get ahead of something you're about to say, is that I think the verbiage of her getting fired is something that is used that has muddied the waters, because she wasn't technically fired, but I'm sure that's something we'll get into as we go.
Yeah, they say they terminated her employment, but also a refusal to hire, right? Because it looks like she never entered into a contract for this, but that somebody told her, because obviously, this had been in development, right?
Yeah. So I think that a lot of it was that I think, in the process, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, etc., there was like a moment of, hey, like, we're looking to do a show about the New Republic, and we're, looking at doing like movies about the Mandalorian. And, like obviously Cara Dune would play a role in that, because she, she's one of the very few recurring characters outside of Din and Grogu, but her contract had ended. Like, mm-hmm. And it would have been on the re-up, where it was like, okay, you're the star of Rangers and you're in the Mando movie, et cetera, et cetera. That like, we all say fired because it's easier to say her contract with the Walt Disney Corporation came to its ending. It's a little snappier, but like that contract ended, and they were like, yeah, you're posting like a lunatic and we don't want to hire you back.
Yeah. And she's also claiming emotional distress. She's asking for punitive damages because she's also claiming that because of Disney's actions, others have stopped doing business with her and she's lost future employment opportunities from that as well. And she's saying that this was despicable conduct that subjected her to cruel and unjust hardship and the conscious disregard of her rights. So she's claiming punitives or damage. She also makes a third claim, which is that she is being discriminated against on the basis of her sex, of her gender, because she's claiming that, and she sets this up when we go back through the fact section of the lawsuit. She's setting this up by, which is what you would usually, I've seen, these kinds of suits before. I'm not an employment lawyer by any means, but I have seen where what you do is you compare your client situation to other similarly situated people, like people who work in the same job, but say they're men and they're getting, they're not getting discriminated against in the same way your client, and your client is. It's like the rules are different, right? So she's claiming, and she goes back through, we can go back through the facts and talk specifics, but she's claiming Pascal and Hamill and all of them, they post all these, liberal stuff on Twitter and on Instagram, and yet Disney hasn't fired them. To which my thing is like, yeah, girl, that's Pedro Pascal and Mark Hamill. Like, do you think they're going to fire Luke Skywalker? And also the Mandalorian, like the titular Mandalorian.
Yeah, the titular.
They're cash cow, like, and also they're not being, absolute weirdos online. Like, I mean,
yeah,
Mark Hamill does be posting, but like
he do be posting.
He do be posting, but he's not like, oh, I'm gonna compare myself to victims of the Holocaust because there's a pandemic, and also the she also goes through and she brings up Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
And I found that just very distasteful because, to quote, this is paragraph 106 of a lawsuit, even Carano's male co-star, the late Carl Weathers, posted the exact same message, but no action was taken against him, nor was Weathers accused by defendants of denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identity. So Weathers had posted, who gets to decide what is appropriate for me or my child to read? The Nazis knew how to both control and to eradicate. Interesting playbook to emulate. What's next? Who's next? # be peace. And he's obviously talking about, the book bans that were seen to go on, right? And she points that out. She's like, but his comments were interpreted to attack Republicans, so he's given a pass by Disney. And it's like, he didn't say, like, let's go murder Ron DeSantis. You know what I mean? Like, her lawsuit is also, it's largely in the facts section. And I don't know if you've noticed this. It's a lot of tweets, which, I mean, I've used tweets and, complaints and such, obviously, for defamation. But it's a lot of tweets from just people who are, standing with her, and then people being mean to her online, right? Which it's like, you can do 2 or 3, but it seems to be a lot of like, oh, I'm complaining because she's suing because she fumbled the bag, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was
I just came by the screenshot of the Star Wars Twitter account with the Martin Luther King quote that is listed for some reason.
Yes, because she said
this is embarrassing shit, man.
Yeah, and she uses that Martin Luther King quote, that the Star Wars account posted on Martin Luther King Day. And, it was just, generic Martin Luther King Jr., post. Yeah. And she is using that to say, oh, see, they want us to speak our minds about political issues. And yet when it comes to me, they're being different. And yeah, it's insane. So she also talks about how Disney had her meet with a group of LGBTQ people who work for the company just to have kind of a dialogue, and how she's saying, oh, this was bullying of her.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's very clear. Her lawsuit actually indicates to me that Disney really tried with her.
Oh yeah, Disney tried. They even bring attention to the fact that like, they call in fucking Pedro Pascal to be like, "Hey, my sister just transitioned. Let me explain these nuances that are kind of flying over your head as a friend." Like, they tried, man. They gave her every opportunity to come back from this stuff. And like I don't think it can be understated. Again, from the outside, from the layman, it's not like Disney does not still have like prominent conservatives on their payroll. Like
Mhm.
Tim Allen is still playing Buzz Lightyear. They just brought back Kelsey Grammer to play the Beast, with like
Yeah.
Marvel stuff. Like, it's not like there are not prominent conservatives who are still in bed with Disney. They're just not comparing masks to the Holocaust. Like,
Yeah.
it's so cartoonish that like trying to defend this just boggles my mind. And like, you know, not to derail or anything, but like I'm flipping through here. One of the things that just jumped out at me as I was like scrolling through trying to get to what you were talking about, in the margins here where they're like mentioning uh like specific instances or like citing their sources, I guess. They use an article from Bounding into Comics, which is like that's one of the top like nerd like right-wing nerd weirdo rags. Like that is like the pinnacle of like the fandom menace. And this is see Morgan, this is where you get to learn some fun stuff. See, I get to learn all this cool legal stuff, and you get to learn about the weird subcultures of nerddom that everybody hates. And stuff like this. Again,
Yeah,
I'm
and
scrolling.
drunk C3PO, that one
Yeah,
gave me a
yeah,
laugh.
drunk 3PO, fucking Star Wars Theory, Geeks and Gamers, all of these like lunatics, and I've been saying for a long time, I think shows like Knowledge Fight, like QAnon Anonymous, everything in that vein do an amazing job at exposing, hucksters and frauds who are taking advantage of people who frankly don't know better in a lot of ways and are just finding easy marks that they can pull the wool over their eyes. This is the one specific area where I think those shows and these watchdogs fail. The Get
Yeah.
Woke, Go Broke slogan started with the fandom menace, and I'm not clever. They call themselves that.
Yeah, and then, you think about like what happened with the sequels and
Yeah,
yeah, I
I'm
could
not. I
go
don't
on
know how
about
much of a
that
nerd
whole
you are, so I
tangent.
apologize if I'm
Yeah, no, I could
mansplaining
go on a
shit.
tangent
I
about the John Boyega situation and
yeah,
how they how,
Daisy, Kelly
I am
Marie
a
Tran. Yeah.
I am famously in love with Kylo Ren, so I
Oh,
apologize. Yeah.
girl, I got my helmet downstairs, and I'm sitting here with a Kylo Ren tat on my leg. We're in simpatico right now. Don't we are on the same fucking team on that one.
Yeah, but she also complains about what other people on social media called her, like saying that she's racist because she didn't adopt the Black Lives Matter moniker, and she was called a transphobic bitch for not including pronouns in her bio. And I'm like, what? Focus! I want to tell the lawyer, focus!
Yeah.
Like, what the hell does this have to do with everybody else? Somebody asking her to say a cab. She included that.
That
And then I love this note. They say ACAB stands for all cops are bastards, a sentiment with which Carano does not agree. And it's like, why are you talking about how these like rando Twitter users
what does this
like
have to do with her not playing Cara Dune anymore? Like, what in God's great earth does this have to do? Like, I understand that it's getting at like she faced harassment. I understand that, but like I feel like the crux of this is, hey Mouse, please give me back my job.
yes. And so that's actually one of the remedies that you can get for, wrongful termination, right? Is that you get put into the place you were before, but for obvious reasons, that's always kind of awkward.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm back. I just sued you,
Yeah.
and So, and it's kind of hard, and judges really don't like forcing people to take a certain action. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if say I had a contract to perform at a venue tomorrow, right? And then I'm just like, oh, I'm not going to show up. They can technically ask for an injunction to ask for a specific performance, right? That I, show up and do the thing. But obviously, if I'm kind of there per court order, it's not going to be great. So, they just probably would want to sue me for damages, right? So you want money.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of this is. I think I think a lot of it is an attempt to get a settlement check from Disney to go away. Now, I don't know if you saw, but Bob Iger was asked about the lawsuit.
I did. He had a very pithy remark that made me laugh. But I
Mhm.
can't remember what he said. It was very like, do you consider it? I do not consider her. It was. I know it wasn't that, but it was in that
Oh,
vein.
it was, he was asked what thoughts do you have on the lawsuit? And he said none.
Yeah.
It made me think of that Mad Men meme where it's like, I don't think about you at all.
Yeah. It's my friend of the show, Alden Diaz, host of Octo Radio. And anytime we get it, Alden, I'm 99% sure he sent that link into a group chat we're in, like the link to that story, and immediately followed it with that GIF. I am like 90% sure it was that exact, like, I don't think about you at all. But yeah.
Yeah, and she also just goes on to the yeah, and I think also part of it is, so Disney, people could say, oh, well, might be Disney is trying to influence what her, quote unquote political, activities or whatever. But the thing is, if Disney has like, they don't have to have cause to fire her, right? Because California also is a right to work state, right? So they can fire you for any reason. But except for obviously you can't fire people for discriminatory reasons, or that would violate that state law, right? So the thing here is she's trying to say, okay, well, they fired me for these reasons, but Disney can say, no, we actually fired you for, A, B, and C, right? So it can also be the fact that it wasn't her political participation, but it's, hey, our star has a trans sister and she's online talking shit about trans people.
Yeah.
It can be she's not, the company is, she's making people feel weird at the company. It can be, it's in our best interest, right? Or this is a good business decision, or, she's not suited for the role. It can be literally anything. So her likelihood on winning is absolutely, yeah, I don't think she's going to win, but I think maybe what she wants is she wants a settlement check. And she also wants, a piece of the attention economy with this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially like going in like arm's length with Elon, like it is the very obvious, again, culture warrior, look at me, I was censored, I was punished by, the liberal oligarchy, framing that,
Mhm.
it's moths to the flame. And, again, I don't know how much legal precedent talking out of both sides of your fucking mouth sets. But I think it's rich that Gina is posting, it might as well be putting all of these, screenshots of tweets and Twitter interactions with people into this into this complaint. What I would love to see is circa 2019, all of the tweets from The Quartering, Geeks and Gamers, Doomcock, Bounding in the Comics, all of these fucking rags, all of these dog shit YouTube channels, all of the Fandom Menace people who are like, the Mandalorian is woke. SJW Star Wars is here to stay. The day she showed up in that show, because I was there. I remember Phantom Menace having nothing nice to say about a big, beefy brick shithouse of a lady being in their Star Wars that they thought was going to be their new dark, gritty, this is for boys thing. They lost their minds when she showed up.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
every single one of them became a really big fucking fan of Cara Dune once we hit beep, bop, boop. Masks don't work. COVID isn't real. The election was stolen. Once we hit that, there's a big change in their tune about Cara Dune. and like there's and again, like I don't know shit about shit here, but part of me is very curious, like, okay, yeah, you were harassed in this way, but you were going on these motherfuckers' podcast after the fact, you know, which again, like, is it legally relevant? No. Does it frustrate me morally that all of a sudden we are hurt by what people have to say online? And that's not to say that, like, even people who I'd agree with politically said some heinous shit to her, you know, that is bound to happen on the internet. And it doesn't excuse it. But again, by the same token, where was this energy from before you came bedfellows with some of these same grifters who were trying to give you the light of day? And that's where I start to get really frustrated morally. And, you know, like I said, like in this complaint, like towards the top, they have in quotes, the force is female, which, you know, for those of you at home, is a fandom menace disinformation like classic. They're playing the hits. This is their "You Belong to the City," you know, making jokes exclusively for people who want listen to Knowledge Trade if they tune into this now. Where like the force is female. People, Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, wearing this T-shirt that says that, and they wanted to frame it as, oh, Kathleen Kennedy's trying to feminize Star Wars. She's trying to inject her feminist agenda into Star Wars. Which again, if you've seen the original trilogy, you sound fucking ridiculous. That's beside the point. It's a fucking Nike ad campaign. It's about Air Force Ones.
Yeah.
And they thought, hey, wouldn't it be funny if the president of Lucasfilm wore this? Because the Force. It's a shitty pun that devolved into a disinformation campaign about like the SJW agenda with Star Wars in the 2010s and into the 2020s. Like, that's in this filing. Like, it's in quotation marks. Like, it's almost like they're banking on fandom menace people reading this. And being able to go, see, I knew that. I understood that reference. The force is female. Kathleen Kennedy's woke SJW agenda. Like, it's bizarre.
Yeah, there's a lot of playing to the audience here.
Yeah.
And also, it's, you know, I notice when people can't choose a lane too in these kinds of complaints, right? So it's, you know, Disney's this woke SJW cult and they all ostracized me. But then she says, oh, well, my co-stars supported me and said, you know, all I can say is that Gina, and working with her personally, what impressed me about her from the beginning is she is so interested in other people's opinions. And Bill Burr saying she's a super nice person. And, you know, and it's like, well, which one is it? Are they all a woke cult or are they all secretly in love with you, girl? Like which one is it? And, you know, obviously, you know, some associate drafted this, but I don't mean to say that derisively. I'm an associate, but but right,
it was not Gina nor her attorney personally who, you know.
But yeah, no, it's yeah, and then the way she throws, you know, Pedro Pascal and Mark Hamill under the bus here, you know, saying, oh well, Mark, you know, compared Trump to Hitler, and yeah, and it's like, yeah, man, like, but again, it's completely different, and it's also Disney. I think what it comes down to with them is it's like Gina Carano was not good for the bottom line of a company, right?
Yeah,
that's you know, that's it, right? They don't want to be associated with a bunch of far right weirdos who were all into Ron DeSantis, famously an enemy of Disney, right? Like,
yeah.
And they're not, and it's not a good look for the brand. And that's absolutely a defense there that Disney has, is that, you know, oh, well, we have, you know, there's, you know, we want coherence with the staff and the people on set, right? If she is, you know, talking shit about trans people online, like, you know, Pedro Pascal, like our star, like, sorry, he comes before you do, girl.
Yeah. And again, just to bring this up, to drive this home, again, I didn't truly get to read the whole thing, and I'm not going to pretend that I did. You know, I understood the thing, and I was, you know, kind of the point was Morgan explaining it to me. But again, I'm seeing like another fandom menace creator being invoked in the filing all the way at like page 44. with a tweet talking about a post that Pedro Pascal deleted after Ryan Kinel, another Fandom Menace scumfuck, made a video about the whole like losers in 1865 it's a Confederate flag, losers in 1945 it's a swastika, losers in 2020 it's a MAGA hat. Like that post, which again, it's fucking corny. Like that's the other part.
Yeah, it's like your aunt would post it.
Let me post this like Occupy Democrats shit. Like please let me post the cringiest political commentary I can muster. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's like a lot of like New England wine aunt posting that she's comparing to like her.
Of.
Yeah, that she's like, oh, they're not disciplined, and she's setting it up right to be like, oh well, it's funny that you talked earlier about the future is female and that being a dig at them supposedly adding a feminist agenda to Star Wars, which okay, but but
gestures at Carrie Fisher.
But Gina Carano is literally saying I was discriminated against because I'm a woman in this lawsuit, because she's saying, oh, the men who express their political views, right, aren't disciplined, but she can't necessarily say, oh, because Republicans aren't a protected class, right? So she can't say, oh, as far as for being Republican. I mean, she can claim under the state law claims like, oh, they wanted to, control my political participation. But as far as like that federal claim, she wants to make that sex discrimination claim, right? So she's having to set it up that way.
Which I feel like it's supposed to be a dunk. I feel like it's supposed to be oh, you're so liberal.
Oh, you're owned. Yeah, by a woman suing you for sex discrimination, which y'all are all into.
Yeah, like you were angry at me for being conservative, but you're the real sexist because you fired me, even though Carl Weathers and Pedro Pascal and Luke fucking Skywalker never posted shit half as insane as what I did. Like it feels like it's supposed to be an own. Like it feels like it's supposed to. Mm-hmm. This feels like the legal filing version of So Much for the Tolerant Left. That's truly what that angle feels like.
I think that's a really good point because and it is using this whole thing of like
money to do that.
Yeah, it feels very much like, oh, well, you want women to like, you believe in like gender discrimination, all these discriminations. Now I'm going to use your own laws you like against you. It's like, ooh, you're owned. I owned you. And it's just like, grow the fuck up. And like she's suing because she made the biggest, like, I remember when she got fired, I said, I have never seen somebody in my entire life, nor will I think I ever will, fumble a bag like that. Just fumble it. Like she didn't even just fumble it. The bag exploded.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and it's crazy to think about because, obviously, I think I talked about this on the episode that came out of Nerd Academy this week earlier. We talked about the Deadpool trailer, but I'll reiterate it here. Carl Weathers passing away is a tragedy. It is a loss to the arts the world over. He was a legend, and his legacy will live on in the amazing works he was in. But to be a little myopic about it with regards to like Star Wars stuff, Carl Weathers passes away. You have to do something about Grief Karga.
Mm-hmm.
Had Gina still been around, let's even pretend Rangers of the New Republic never gets off the ground. And she doesn't have a whole ass show to do like New Republic special ops stories. Let's just say that Cara Dune is still on Navarro, serving at High Magistrate Karga's pleasure. Carl Weathers passes away. Well, we have to do something to acknowledge that. Cara Dune becomes the new High Magistrate of Navarro. Like, there's so much character shit that could have been on the table for her. Like, again, let's pretend Rangers of the New Republic wasn't even a fucking option for her. Like, she gets to have this arc where Cara Dune goes from, I've always been an enforcer my whole life, and this is my first real chance to lead and like be someone that people look to guide them. I work with Din, but Din's taking lead. I work with Grief, Grief is taking the lead. I was in the rebellion. I was taking orders. It's my turn to be a leader. Like, there's a whole character arc right there created by
her.
By Carl Weathers' passing that feels painfully obvious to anybody who'd be writing for The Mandalorian, like obviously Jon Favreau, but like even before, right there.
Yeah, even before Carl Weathers is passing, like she would have, and then God knows if she had, had her own basically Mandalorian spinoff, then she would have gotten, these other opportunities, which is, from other entities. Like, she could have been in action movies, she could have been in all this other stuff, but the thing is,
if she was still in good with Disney, it could have blended into a fucking Marvel role for all we know. Like, because they love working with people that they know and that they like and that they can count on. Like, hell, like Pedro Pascal's Reed fucking Richards now. Like, he's in Fantastic Four, so it's like they're
she made it not worth it. She made it not worth it for them, which is what you cannot be with Disney. You cannot. So I'm not sure exactly all what happened behind the scenes there, but it looks like they were trying with her.
Yeah.
And it looks like she just, was bad for the brand. And I have a feeling there were some other issues going on too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know how you can be posting shit like this and like, and again, it's worth noting, like we talked earlier about like Tim Allen, Kelsey Grammer. Like, it wasn't like it was like run of the mill conservative shit. Like, like even Tim Allen got away with some like weird, like, I identify as ... jokes, and like even he got away with that. When you have somebody who's posting just this weird, bizarre shit, this wasn't normal stuff. She's talking about election denial. She's talking about like the weird Nazi shit. She's poking the bear and then hiding behind the brand as a shield. Like, I think that's another important thing that was definitely a point against her, was that when she did the beep bop boop, she publicly tweets, I did it to fuck with the people who were getting on my case about pronouns and bios and stuff. And then she falls back to, it was an R2-D2 joke. So now you're using the brand as a meat shield to hide from the thing that you already admitted was posted to fuck with trans people. Like, that in and of itself, I think, is like another big, like, woo, sirens going off for Disney.
Yeah. And I think that there was probably a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And I had heard in the rumor mill that they had wanted to fire her, and this was kind of the last, straw. So it's like she had to, it was like, it became, again, not worth it for them to keep her if she's going to be doing all this and God knows what else, and so her bag fumble is honestly, it's historic. We're going to study it for the ages.
Overstated. It cannot be overstated. Like, at the very least, you would have had your own whole ass Star Wars show and have been a supporting character in a Star Wars movie. Like, at the very least, Rangers of the New Republic, and maybe you're in one of the 2 Mandalorian movies that we know are coming out. Just that bag alone.
I would be sick. I would be sick. I probably also would file a federal lawsuit over it. but it's just, I do think that she's trying to get, part of the attention economy, because also it's telling that she hasn't gotten any other work, right? To which, the lawsuit kind of hints like
on the prairie,
Yeah, she kind of hints, it's Disney's fault because Disney's been, doing whatever. But again, that's why I think there's stuff behind the scenes as well with her, right? Because of the fact that nobody has jumped in to give her any kind of role, like other than like the Ben Shapiro media company of, Nobody Cares Productions or whatever.
Yeah. From the studio that brought you Lady Ballers comes that chick who was in The Mandalorian.
She wasn't even in that, was she?
No, not Lady Ballers, but she was in their weird like
Yeah, I knew she was in
girl
another weird
boss with a
movie.
gun movie, Terror on the Prairie, which that's its own can of worms. It pisses me off that like the very idea of here's an action movie starring a woman, but we promise it isn't woke, but you'd only think it was woke if somebody else made it because there's a woman with a gun. Like there's this weird Ouroboros of bullshit that like that Terror on the Prairie just creates paradoxically by its own existence. But
Oh yeah, there's a lot of they love their
yeah,
paradoxes there and cognitive dissonance.
something that I wasn't able to find, but I saw mentioned throughout is again, nobody quote me on this. It was just something that I saw bandied about that apparently the Trans Law Center had a charity put on by a number of people who work in the like nerd, like the fandom entertainment news space. You know, some folks from Collider who we at the Nerd Academy have worked with before. All of them have been on the show. Actually, I'm not going to bring them up by name, but like it's all of those folks that they put on this fundraiser for the Trans Law Center, and it was like very Mandalorian themed, as like a kind of direct like, okay, we have a cast member coming this way, we are going to push it back because the fandom is better than that bullshit. And again, I don't know where, but I saw talk that apparently those individuals are not necessarily named, but they are referred to as Lucasfilm employees.
Oh, that's I see. I did not. Yeah. So
Doing a
I
charity thing, and it's like, motherfucker, these are writers for the Mary Sue and Collider. What do you mean Lucasfilm employees? And that's where my ears perk up. Because again, like let's go back to the Force is female. Like that is a piece of disinformation that's spun and spun and spun and spun because people just didn't understand the context for it and took it at face value. Like get to, you know, the quote that I heard many times listening to your coworkers statements during the trials, you know, like by the time the truth puts on its boots, a lie is already halfway around the world. Like, okay, cool. Now there is this piece of disinformation floating around that Lucasfilm employees were like counter programming Gina Carano with a charity effort when it was incredibly, you know, brave and bold journalists in the fandom space who were like, no, fuck this. You know, that is insane to me that someone either got that wrong or were okay with reporting that shoddy.
Yeah, so there is a section of the lawsuit that I think maybe this seems to be an event, but it's in the lawsuit that says that she went to donate to a GoFundMe page allegedly set up in support of the transgender community as a sign of good faith. When she opened the link, she read that the fund was supposedly created by a Lucasfilm creative and was directly targeting Carano, defaming her by accusing her of being a bigoted actress. Accordingly, Carano did not donate. And then she says, the account was changed to call Carano ignorant, and the identity of the organizer was changed to no longer identify a Lucasfilm employee. To Carano's knowledge, no employee was disciplined for their public harassment of Carano.
If this is referring to the fundraiser, I was a part. Like I donated and I like shared it around. Like I was in the room for some of this shit. I was not Lucasfilm employees. Again, like I don't mean this as a pejorative, but like these were people who write for Collider and the Mary Sue.
Well, I think it's that also you went back to that
Oh my
trolling
God.
thing. It's like anybody who is supportive of, you know, Star Wars becoming more diverse and telling, you know, more diverse stories must be like a Lucasfilm employee because no
Yeah, or the
actual
Disney
fan would be
shills,
into
yeah.
it. Yeah. No
Yeah.
actual real Star Wars fan would, you know, like the Force going female. Or so
shoes, motherfucker. It's goddamn shoes.
Oh man, but yeah, she's God, this is just it's insane. The fact that it's just, you know, posting of tweets that random people have
That's it's truly just posting.
And she's just mad. Again, she wants to speak to a manager, and she's going to the federal court in California, the Central District of California, to speak to the manager. And I hope they're like, "Ma'am, this is a federal courthouse."
It's
Please,
I
the Wendy's, like, yeah.
it's amazing reading a court filing that is like equal parts. Again, someone just posting through the pain. So it's equal parts posting through the pain. It's equal parts. It's like that iconic drill tweet with like and don't tell the newspaper I was mad. Don't tell them I was mad because I'm not mad. And then a pathetic attempt at cashing in on reminding all of like the grifter sphere that you're one of the good ones.
Yeah.
It's just
just poorly set up. It's like, oh,
awful.
there's because it's like, oh, look, the male employees, they posted about politics and weren't punished, and it just feels very, is this anything?
It's so like intellectually dishonest.
Well, it is. It's very intellectually dishonest. She's wanting her check from Disney of some kind. The lawsuit does say $75,000, but they are asking for more. It's just $75,000 is the minimum that she would have to sue for in order to have venue in this court. So yeah, that's why that's there. But no, she's wanting to get a check from Disney to, go away. I'm not sure exactly what Disney's response is going to be here. It's possible because, sometimes when you get into litigation, it's cheaper just to give somebody a check. But the thing is, Disney's got resources to box
on it. I think the optics on that would be awful.
If they settled, I think so too.
I think they would. I think that is them settling. Like, obviously, the money's a drop in the bucket. Like that's how much it costs to animate the Hulk's big toe. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, they had the money to fight.
Yeah,
this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. It's just like the L that would be to be like, yeah, you're right, Gina. Here's a check. Fuck off. That, like, oh man, I hope they make her fight this in court. I truly do. I'm
looking forward to a response.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're going to get there. That's one of the groups of lawyers I'm very afraid of, is Disney lawyers, by the way. I live in fear of them. I don't fuck with the mouse. You fuck with the mouse, you get the horns.
Yes.
Fuck with the mouse, you get the ears.
But yeah, and it is, like I was saying, like the intellectual dishonesty, like I refuse to accept the idea that Gina Carano or anybody working for her in a legal capacity can, with a straight face, tell me that they do not see the difference between masks are like the Nazis and it's kind of Nazi-ish to put a kid in a cage and it's kind of Nazi-ish to try to overthrow the government. And here's that moment during a Trump rally where people kind of did a Sig Heil. Like, you can't look me in the eye and tell me you actually think all of these things are the same level of fair comparison. Like, that is the part that boggles my mind and just strains credulity. That, like, you really think these are all the same fucking thing? Truly. I could never be a lawyer. I simply could. I'm falling back on the Jordan Holmes. I'd lose my fucking mind. I'd start throwing things. You're in a robe. None of this is real. Like, I have anytime we do deep dives on the Phantom Menace on this show, I jokingly say we're going to do a knowledge fight, and I like to pretend I'm a Dan Friesen when I say shit like that because I'm a big stocky guy with a big beard. And the more we're talking about this, the more I'm like, no, I'm way more like Jordan than I care to admit. I'm having that realization in real time that if I watched an adult try to tell me they think all of these things are the same level of valid comparison, I might freak the fuck out. Like, truly. And I have no recourse for that.
I have had so many filings where I've literally just wanted to be like, can I just respond with, be fucking for real right now?
Yeah.
Like, Like, can I just like put that sentence, file it, we go on. But no, I have to be an adult and actually address people like they are serious. Again, they are not. Sometimes lawyers are not. I want to be like, you are not serious people.
Yeah, you're not.
You are not deeply unserious. I mean, that's what this lawsuit is at the end of the day. It's deeply unserious. And yeah, she's a loser. It's just, I mean, in every sense of the word, it's crazy. She's mad and she wants to speak to the manager, which I guess the ultimate manager works at the federal courthouse.
Yeah. Oh. Hey, it could be worse, whenever the trial starts, her attorney could be like, hey, will you talk to me? These jokes are getting more and more niche. I know that some of the people who listen to this show, I've gotten in a knowledge fight. And I know that at least a couple policy wonks have started watching at least 1 or 2 episodes that I was like, felt reason to share in the Facebook group. I make more knowledge fight jokes than I can count on this show that are for me and a patron who I know for sure watches the show or listens to knowledge fight.
I love a niche reference, though.
We're in a like I said, I'm in a Star Wars like RPG tabletop show. The DM also listens to knowledge fight, and one of the main characters, Alden Diaz's character, plays Thalbor Sheems, who he always describes as an Ithorian version of Saul Goodman, which is great. Archetype you never see in Star Wars. But like Thalbor went to put the like sleaze bag moves on, and Michael under his breath, and you hear it in the episode, goes, "Will you talk to me?" Will you talk to me? Again, maybe 10 people get this joke. And again, if any wonks come this way, please fill the comments with Indino Reynal and Nord Pattis jokes that will confuse every other fucking
Norm.
Yeah, Norm should be on this case.
Oh,
bring me Norm. Bring me Barnes. Bring me Reynal.
Oh, God.
Give me the unholy trinity of dog shit attorneys on Gina Carano's case. Elon can afford it.
Yeah, that's another thing, is that Elon is funding this litigation, which, I mean, I saw her attorneys, and I am not familiar with any of them. I mean, I wouldn't expect to be.
Yeah.
Which it's funny because their office is in San Francisco, where all the libs are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm not sure what their deal is, but I mean, so that tells me like they're getting paid. Like the fact that they're not taking this lawsuit to be like, oh, well, we don't get anything if you don't win. Right. So that's how I work. Right.
Yeah.
I get, I have to win. I kill what I eat, or I eat what I kill, basically. Right. That's how we do it for Farrar Ball. But here it looks like, since it is being funded, which I don't know if that means just the expenses or if they're paying, full on hourly legal fees, but, they're getting paid regardless. So this isn't, going to be a loss on their back. But it's very weird that Elon is getting into funding litigation, but it's not surprising.
It's not surprising. And the specific flavor of like, evil woke groomer Disney getting targeted by Musk is like not surprising, and I am apprehensively waiting for the next shoe to drop for like who is the next weirdo Elon is going to throw his money behind, because I don't think that next person or that next cause is far away.
Oh, no, it's not. And yeah, I mean, and he's got his own legal bills to pay, but
yeah. Especially once y'all are done with his ass.
Well, we're hopeful, we're hopeful, and we're going to keep fighting for our client, Ben Brody, and see how that shakes out. But yeah, we're hopeful, and he needs to be held accountable for the lies that he's spread. And yeah, it's just funny that he's going around, funding this litigation for various weirdos while also himself being sued. But,
Yeah.
you know, to each their own. I wouldn't spend my money that way. I
No.
imagine all the time, if I had the money Elon does, I don't know that anybody would ever see me again. I would be on vacation.
I would be doing this full time. I would. I've had that conversation before. People are like, oh, I like disappeared. It's like people are like, oh, you do YouTube so I can be rich and like do fuck all for a living. And part of me's like, yeah, but I love doing this shit. Like I would just have the most. I would have such an ostentatious setup, and like be paying. Yeah. I'd be paying people that my show is so fucking beneath to edit and produce it. I was like, you have no idea. I was like, I'd be irresponsible, but trying to do like make things that make people happy, you know? Like at no point would funding Gina Carano's fucking lawsuit that by all accounts would not have happened without Elon. Like that is another big part of the framing that she's like, Elon is funding this battle that like, it seems like this never would have happened without him, which is also bizarre to me.
And I'm wondering how they got together. You know,
You're an enemy of woke Disney. I think that is it.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know if maybe there was some kind of like mutual in between or like whatever. But I mean, likely because they're both in the weirdo spaces. But,
I mean, maybe I don't know how friendly Musk would be with Ben Shapiro. I know
I've actually never seen them like hang out.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure like they've praised each other because they all have shitty opinions, but like I don't know if like that's a communique that would have happened, but I know Elon Musk is invested in Star Wars in some way because I remember last year one of the funniest things on like Star Wars Twitter was Elon Musk has exactly one good opinion, and it is that he watches The Bad Batch. Like it was like that is it. That is the only thing we know is good about him is he watches an animated Star Wars show, which means he has at least something in his head that works. But like, I was like, so if he's watching The Bad Batch, he knows about Gina Carano. Like, I was like, so I could do like a little bit of the mental math here that if he knows about this animated show, he definitely knows about one of, if not the biggest show in all of streaming. You know, like it's like the one of these things has to be related to each other. So who fucking knows? But
we live in a wild world. It's again deeply unserious. It's just nonsense. But yeah, so I think my takeaway from this would be that this is, you know, Gina Carano. I think she's really trying to capture the attention economy with this. She's trying to sidle up and ally herself with Elon too, in a way, right? By being like, Elon's my buddy. Look, he's funding my lawsuit. You know, I'm one of you cool guys, right? Because I think that, you know, she's trying to figure out where to go from here because she did the biggest bag fumble of all time. She's not getting a lot of work, even from
biblically fumbled.
That's so perfect. Biblically, I mean, it is a biblical, like they will be telling this story in 1,000 years about how badly she fucked up.
Where it tells of the legendary fuck up of Gina Carano.
Like, if I ever fucked up this badly, I think I would just slowly start walking in the direction of the sea. That's just, I don't know what else. I'd be like, well, there's nothing else for me. But and the thing about the Elon money, it's just like, man, just go on vacation or do something cool. I don't know. I wouldn't be over here posting weird racist conspiracy theories. It's like there's so like I can name literally like 10,000 things I would do before that. So yeah,
that kind of money fucks you up in the head, man. That kind of money fucks you up in the head.
Yeah.
Normal people, like right-minded human beings do not get made fun of on Twitter, lose 44 billion to own it, and then break it.
Yeah.
And continue to get made fun of on it. Like I have my own little conspiracy. I'm gonna put my hat on real quick.
Oh God. Here we go.
And part of me fundamentally, on some level, thinks Elon bought Twitter to destroy it. Part of me truly does think that. But then other times I see him like truly try to be cool on Twitter, and the way that he like reshaped it to be like the only kid at school who has an Xbox. And I'm like, and then I have this epiphany where I'm like, I gave you too much credit to be an evil genius. You're just fucking deranged. Like I go back and forth on that all the time. Did he buy it to break it? Or did he just want to build his own cool kids table? And I don't think I'll ever know. I think I'll truly waffle on that for the rest of my life. He could tell me to my face what his intent was, and I don't think I'd believe him. I would just have to question it for the rest of my days, because I'll never get it. I'll never get how any of this shit happened.
I mean, I'm kind of there with you. I'm hoping we get, more answers and more things coming to light as we go along. But yeah, just don't file weird lawsuits. I think that's also a good takeaway. Be normal. Go touch grass before you go running to the federal courthouse.
I think that is a lovely place to end the show. Morgan, we talked about it a little. I mentioned it up top. Hot Dockets is your Substack.
Yes,
tell people about that and where they can find you.
Yeah, so I've got the Substack. I'm hoping to turn that into a podcast here eventually. So that's in the hopper. But yeah, I'll be writing some more posts on there soon. So we'll see. Also when the podcast launches and everything. So I'll have updates there as well.
Very excited for the podcast.
And I'm still on Twitter, because I am playing that violin as that ship goes down.
Yes, you and me both, sister. We're going down with that fucking ship. Elon does not get to claim it as his own.
Oh man,
he'll have to fumigate all of us out of there.
No, I'm wrestling there with him in the darkness and hell.
It's like Gandalf falling with the Balrog.
Yes, that is very much. Yeah, that's what I feel like. Yeah, that is what I feel like, which also makes me feel like maybe that means I'm too online. The fact that the website gives me that feeling.
Listen, you and I may need to touch grass as well, but we need to touch grass less, and we need to touch grass in the name of better causes than this bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, and at least I acknowledge it. I'm like, yes, I am too online. Because, I'll be explaining something that happened on Twitter, to my boyfriend or something. And then I feel like it's that Breaking Bad scene where it's like, Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'll be like, the shrimp tails in the cinnamon toast crunch box. And it's like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like... Yeah, it's truly a pairing of like super offline Raven, and then there's me.
Listen, I relate to that so much because my girlfriend Taylor, who also listens to the show, like when she will let knowledge like bank up and bank up and bank up and bank up, and I will just like wait to get into the car, and I'll hear like the most out of pocket shit, and I'm like, oh, this was such a good episode. Like I will try to like tell her about bizarre shit happening online, and she just looks at me and she goes, I've curated my feeds way too well to know anything you're talking about.
Wow.
And I'm like, like every day
she's
I'm
too
like
powerful.
She's too powerful. And meanwhile, I get on Twitter every day and I'm like this.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Fun fact, I added that to our clips a week before Knowledge Fight used it in their Technocrat drop.
Oh,
Same week. That version's from the RM Brown YouTube channel with the sad fucking trumpet, which makes it infinitely funnier. But yeah, no, just be normal and touch grass and read and eventually listen to Hot Dockets. I know I will be.
Thank you. Appreciate
absolutely. And follow Morgan on Twitter. She's wonderful.
At Mostring, Mostring.
Yes. That and Hot Dockets will be linked in the description for both the podcast and the YouTube version. But yeah, Morgan, thank you again so much for coming by. Before I do the end plugs, I just want to say I very much appreciate it. I wasn't sure if this was even going to work in the first place. It made my day when it actually all came together, and I am just so glad you came by and appreciate it so much.
I had a lot of fun. I hope
Absolutely.
to be on again if anybody else decides to, I don't know, file a lawsuit about.
Hey, you know what? We can do lawsuits. We could talk we could talk about Daredevil Born Again when that comes out. That's about lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
Daredevil's a lawyer, and if there's anything, if you ever decide like, hey, I want to come on and not talk about legal stuff, if you see a thing and you're like, this seems like something y'all cover.
Oh yeah,
open invitation.
I have a life outside of the law, but I just imagined like I was like the SIFs file a class action. Like trying to think of other Star Wars law crossover.
Yeah, Star Wars law. I mean, we get into the litigation of like, I was gonna go towards like a poli-sci law type thing about like the legality of the Separatist Alliance seceding from the Galactic Republic with the Clone Wars, and then I immediately went the Clone Wars. We could do a whole legal thing about like the efficacy of having a clone army and the ethics there. I'm like, that's a fun light nerd topic for somebody. The legality of a clone army.
To get in some more nerd credit, in law school I took 2 classes called Law and Science Fiction.
Oh, that's fucking cool as hell.
So yeah, I'm down for those discussions anytime.
I did not realize how much I was playing into your hand that you took a class on like something that I'm sure involved like the ethics of cloning and all of that, all of that fun stuff. But yeah, absolutely. Go check out Hot Dockets. Go follow Morgan on Twitter. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, and on TikTok. And if you want to get your hands on some TNAP merch, you can go to the Nerd Academy podcast.com and click that student store link. And I lost the clip again. I was so good about that for like 3 weeks. There it is.
TeePublic.com.
For like 3 weeks, I was right on that clip every time, and this time I lost it again. And if you're feeling generous, you can chuck in $1 to our Patreon.
Hey, give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Keandre Lloyd.
Colin Provolone. Sir.
So good.
Steal yourself, Colin! Steal yourself!
This is me stealing myself!
And it's so funny playing that clip for people who have zero fucking context for it, because trying to explain it makes me feel like I'm on drugs. Because trying to be like, okay, so Dimension 20 did a D&D campaign where it was like Candyland, but it was Game of Thrones. It was like Game of Thrones in Candyland, and in this moment, a blender monster comes to life and shreds one of the player characters while alive, 2 ribbons. And Zach Oyama's character is in real time freaking out about it. Like, I like the moment you get to Candyland Game of Thrones, I'm like, I feel like I'm on drugs trying to explain it to somebody. But Keandre, like me, is a big fan of Dimension 20. And to our Policy Wonk $10 patron, Paco.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
I love how it's like he winds himself up. Like,
from the front line, it's fucking It's the best. And to our dear friend Ray Clausen, who asked that you donate to Equality Texas and help keep queer kids safe in the Lone Star State. If you donate to the Patreon at the $10 tier, you get a shout out and a little clip at the end of the show, just like you just saw. And if you subscribe at our $5 tier, you will get access to Patreon exclusive content like the Knights of the Nerd Republic versus series. We just started up season 5. Our first episode of season 5 is out now, Darth Vader versus Yoda. That was a very fun episode to record because it was one of those, hey, we're eventually going to have to do this one and it's going to be a doozy. And it was. So $5 tier, there's like 30 hours worth of versus series that you get for just $5, as well as an episode every month. So go ahead, check that out. Like I said, Ionized Bastards, new episode out today when you're watching this. I'm not sure when Michael's dropping it today, but it will be out today. So go subscribe to all remaining systems and keep an eye out for episode, I think it's either 11 or 12 of Ionized Bastards. So yeah, all of that said, again, Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. Very much appreciated. This is a wonderful conversation. You absolutely will have to be on again soon. And yeah, thank you to everybody for watching and listening. And may the force be with you always.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!